Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Once upon a time, Sens fans were very, very tired of hearing rest is a weapon. And I think this is a scenario where we can all, as Sens fans at least, agree that we were right and rest isn't always a weapon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Game Over Ottawa. That was a rough one. I am, however, very excited about our guest today. And right before I introduce him, we're just going to go to a quick word from our friends at Sports Interaction. Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. And we are joined by Matt Henderson, aka Archaeologuy. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, and probably a lot better than you are right now.
That was a rough way to come back after. I don't know how many games have the Oilers played since the All-Star break? How was that?
This would be the third game, I think.
It's the third. Yeah, this is the first game back for the Sens. I don't know why they had such a long pause there, 11 days
Yeah, it's
without
ugly.
playing, but
I mean, it looked like it, right? Like the first period looked like it.
100%.
Get into anything. How about we start with? I hope Anton Forsberg has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, that looked like. I mean, I'm not the greatest at like looking at something identifying, but that's got to be a broken leg, right? Like,
I mean, tendons, leg, bones. I'm who knows? Like
whatever it is, yeah, not fun.
It would be disastrous for him. So all the best to Forsberg and speedy recovery. So
Yeah, that's it's like if you're forced to spin any positive on it at all, at least the Sens really aren't in it now that they have two injured goalies, right? Like,
right, yeah, like you don't have to lie to yourself going into the deadline about what you're going to be.
exactly, yeah. So I think, especially that if Pierre still finds a way to have an excuse to go after Matt Dumba, like the rumors were a few weeks ago, I don't know at this point. It
doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But you know what? I mean, if you can get guys that have multiple years left on their deals, you're still it's not just a rental. But yeah.
So
first period looked like a team that hadn't played in a really long time.
Yeah. Arguably, I would say maybe the third period as well. The second period looked a bit better, but that's about it, eh? Like that was
well, to me, like from an Oiler perspective, the second period looked like Campbell was giving it away. Like I thought there were two goals that he should have had. Relatively long distance. That I think it was Brandstrom. Well, that is what his first goal in like 150 games or something ridiculous. I don't know. Whatever it was, he should have had that. Like Campbell should have stopped that one.
Oh, I think a couple of those I think Sanderson's goal and Brandstrom's goal, both of those.
Yeah,
Campbell probably wants those back.
I didn't like either of them. I saw Oiler fans, one of them sort of complaining about maybe what Jesse Pugliarvi was doing on one of those goals, maybe what McDavid was doing on one, but ultimately, I don't know, head-on shot from distance, the goalie's got to stop that. So,
yeah,
that second period did not care for the goaltending on the Oilers side. That's for sure.
That is completely fair. Yeah, I think honestly, like. Even I think Sens fans can look at it like, I guess on the bright side, like, okay, Sens were still in it through two periods, but really, like, it was a much more lopsided first 40 minutes than the scoreboard shows, I think.
Yeah, because the Oilers had lots of chances. There were some tap-ins that were missed. Like I think Nurse had a tap-in that was missed. It's just, and you can see Connor McDavid dancing and just flying around out there, and that's when he's on his game and when he's flying, it's hard to feel like you know you you aren't going to win. Like from an Oiler perspective, when McDavid is doing that and he's playing, high level hockey, you just always kind of feel, even if the Oilers give up a goal, like we could get two back anytime.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I've seen a lot of talk from Oilers fans about how frustrated they are, but like how can you ever feel out of any game with the scoring up front on the
It's
Oilers?
Well, that's true. And I would say that, as an Oiler fan, and someone who watches them closely, I would say the last 10, 11 games has actually really swung things for us. But before then, sort of going into Christmas, it was actually there was that frustration because
Mhm.
playing as well as they should have. Campbell still obviously, struggling with his save percentage. Uh, the team should have been getting a lot more saves than they were getting, and sort of overall just not performing up to snuff. I think their record in their last 11 games now is 9-0-2. So they're actually, turning things around. And I think as Oiler fans, we're kind of being like, okay, well, this is the team with McDavid scoring at this amazing pace. This is the team that we should be expecting. And I think we're kind of coming out of our grumpy funk that we were in.
Yeah, because I think because now the Oilers are what 1 point out of the division lead. They're just 1 point behind Vegas with a couple games in hand, I think. And I think coming into this year, like at the end of December, yeah, they were like the Oilers were what 10 points back, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough. Whatever it
Yeah.
was, I don't know the exact numbers off my top of my head, but you look at the team, you look at the performance of not just McDavid, but um Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, like they're having great offensive seasons. Three of the four guys there are having career years,
Hmm.
with Leon Draisaitl still in second in the NHL scoring, even though he's not having a career year.
Wow.
Uh, why isn't this team better? And now here we are after a nice stretch, a really good stretch, and they're back to where I think they should be.
And
And more rumors coming out about what might happen at the deadline. So
oh, I want to get into that with you as well, but I
yeah,
do need
yeah,
to say I know people are like the whole. So I'm looking at the stats now, and I know people are just in general like we get it, McDavid's good, but I feel like I feel like it's gotten to the point where like I want to say like he's so talked about, and now like he was so like clearly he's so clearly the best player to the point where no one's talking about. I don't want to say he's underrated because he's not. He's the best player. Everyone knows that. But I can't
yeah.
believe how little anyone is talking about his season.
I Because it's incredible,
It's
right?
nuts.
I mean, and he had multiple 40 goal seasons already. So it's not like he wasn't a goal scorer.
Hmm.
He just decided, well, no, now I'm going to be the best goal scorer in the league. And he just decided that. Like he could have done it all along. And between him and Leon, they basically said, you know, this is the goal that we want to have. We want Connor to be the leading goal scorer on top of it all. And he's incredible. As an Oiler fan, I for like 3 years in a row, I've basically said, we can't count on McDavid to have this season every year.
Right.
Like he's the best in the league. As an Oiler fan, I'm biased, but I've always just said, well, he's the best. Like he's the best.
Hmm.
And every year he's gotten better. And every year I'm like, well, we can't count on him to be the best. He's getting better. This is insane. Like we're watching greatness and just evolve. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he's 26. Like
Yeah.
I think I think every hockey fan on the planet is just so used to hearing, oh, McDavid's having an incredible season. Like it's just so used to it that like, if anything, I don't maybe I shouldn't say I think the season he's having is incredibly underrated in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things.
Like, why aren't people talking about it more?
Yeah, like when you've scored when you like because he's still I don't even know. Let me crunch some numbers real quick here
But
because
like,
I
yeah,
need to figure
everyone
out.
wants to talk about Tage Thompson because he's doing something that he's never done, right?
Fair, yeah.
But McDavid is doing more, and the problem is no one wants to talk about it because he's always been the best,
Yeah,
right?
so 50 oh my god. 52 games in, he's still on pace for 64 goals.
Yeah,
So
he's a freak.
like oh, that's so stupid. That's so dumb. Like
It is dumb.
he's on pace for that, and he's on pace for above an assist a game right now. So say he
Yeah,
puts up 84 assists and 64 goals. Like,
yeah.
oh
And
my
there's
god.
there's guys like I think he's been unlucky to not have more. Right? Like, if you take a look at it, there's some guys on the team that Patrick or Evander Kane, not Patrick. Evander Kane got injured. He missed 3 months.
Right.
There's a big scoring winger that should have been playing with McDavid almost that entire time.
Yeah.
Hyman, he's having an amazing year. Look at his 5-on-5 shooting percentage. It's below 8%. Like, he's not scoring at 5-on-5 as much as we would expect him to. He's been unlucky to not score more.
Right.
Right. So like, you start looking around, you're like, actually, there's room for McDavid to have another huge burst in the final section of this season.
He'll just put up 25 points in the last 10 games of the season, and no one's gonna be surprised. Like,
No one will talk. They'll be like, but look at how great this season that Tage Thompson's at. Yeah, and yes, he is, but
yeah.
we're talking about how amazing this is.
Yeah, because he's putting up numbers like he did in the bubble season with none of the
Yeah.
excuses that everyone is like making
Wait,
for him, right?
these are like 1993 numbers.
Yeah.
They're not 2023 numbers.
I have to ask because, like, I feel like if you're used to this all, like, I mean, obviously it doesn't get old, but like, have you ever just like kind of caught yourself like, oh, I'm not appreciating this nearly enough just because you're so used to it?
For me, no.
Okay.
But I know that there's going to be other people that they may have only grown up, like, for younger fans.
Mm-hmm.
A lot younger fans that don't remember the 10 years of hot garbage that went into leading up to this. They probably, they might, I would think, get to a point where it's possible that they're not appreciating everything that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I had to watch really bad Oiler teams for a very long time.
Right. Yeah.
Like, anytime I can watch Connor McDavid, it is magic, and it's worth the price of admission. And I don't know if there's a lot of actual superstars in the league that are worth the price of admission.
Right.
Just on, there's a handful of guys, and McDavid's one of them.
Yeah, I haven't been lucky enough to see him in the NHL, but I did see him when he played with Erie. So that was a lot of fun, but it's been all that. So clearly it's been way too long since I've seen him live. Like,
right.
I need to get out
to
an Oilers game.
Because it's wild. When you see him on TV, you're like, wow, he's so fast. And then when you see him live, it's that much more impressive. Right? Because, I mean, the TV can trick you, and the way the camera works, and, how it's not focused on him. Like, you can watch him and just watch him the entire shift, and you see everything that he does and the speed at which he's doing it and how much faster and more impressive it is than the people around him. And it's just shocking. And you can watch just the tiniest things, starts and stops, and be like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I could probably just spend a whole half-hour episode talking about how jealous I am of Oilers fans, just being able to see that every single
Yeah.
game.
Well, and you know, we get it. Like,
uh,
100%. Like, it's
yeah.
yeah. I would be jealous too.
Yeah. So before I get into a few other Oilers related things, I want to ask you about, just get your opinion on. Also worth noting that Jake Sanderson was taken out of the game and did not return. Not sure if we've gotten an update on that or not, but that's no fun. So something else to keep an eye on, especially with how bad Shabbat was in that game. If the Sens are missing Sanderson for an extended bit of time, that is brutal. But
Yeah.
hey, maybe it's a ticket to the Bedard sweepstakes a little bit later than we expected.
Yeah. And from an Oiler perspective, I think Klim Kostin was hurt near the end of the game, looked like a shoulder thing. So he's not a major player for the Oilers, but he's become sort of a bit of a fan favorite as well. So
Yeah,
few injuries in this game,
yeah, it was
but
a rough one. It was just
yeah.
over. Yeah, from start to finish, it was a really rough one.
I think that's also another danger of when, you know, one team hasn't played in a really long time. You know, game speed is hard to get back, and
Yeah,
it can be.
absolutely. Um, so with that, I do have a couple Oilers things I want to ask you. First of all, the whole talk of Puljujärvi potentially being waived before the trade
Yeah,
deadline.
and
Does
then he
that
scores the game-winning goal.
Yeah, does that still, like, I mean, not even like just because of this game, but does that still, like, do you think that has legs? Like, is that legit?
I think it has legs, but I would like to see him traded before losing him for free. Like, I'm a big Puljujärvi fan. Um, I've never backed off of that. I know he's had a bad year offensively. He's never had a great year offensively, but he is, you know, by all accounts and by all, you know, fancy stat measurements and whoever you ask to do the fancy stats and looking at it, Puljujärvi is the Oilers' best defensive forward. Period. You know, he does things that are really great, and if you can appreciate the defensive side of the game, then you can appreciate what he brings. However, the Oilers have never been known for understanding or appreciating that side of the game.
Right.
Uh, he's the whipping boy. And then if you just want to just go, you know, even more basic than that, and you want to look at PDO, but going into this game, he had a 960 PDO. It was brutal. And you can count on the Oilers like clockwork to hate the players that have the worst PDO, love the ones that have the highest, and never understand or figure out that there's a correlation there. And so there, I have no question in my mind that the Oilers want to move on from Puljujärvi, and if it came down to it, if they had their, you know, hands tied, they would waive him in order to bring Yamamoto back.
Right.
Yamamoto was healthy.
All right. I wanted to get someone's opinion on that who follows the team a
It will
lot more
be the
closely than
wrong
me.
choice. It will be something that people will look at later and be like, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And any team that struggles defensively, or especially in their top six, if there's a spot out there for a right winger that can bring quality forechecking and cause chaos in the neutral zone, Puljujärvi would be perfect for that team.
Right. And I know like hindsight is one thing, and I don't think anyone expected him to play as well with Seattle as he has, but do you think that would be the weirdest wave of the season, even past Tolvanen? Because I know like when Tolvanen was waived by Nashville, everyone kind of went, that seems a bit drastic.
No, I wouldn't say it's the weirdest wave. I mean, when you take a look at the Oilers cap situation,
Hmm.
it's not. They've known it's not good for a long time. Holland isn't particularly adept at working with the salary cap.
Right.
Never, and he put the team into a bit of a bind. And you know, if just from a money perspective and the fact that Puljujärvi is having a rough season offensively, they're going to say we'd rather have the 3 million in space than
Right.
have to deal with this. Because the other thing is, unless there's a massive change in his offensive production, like maybe this goal starts something amazing, and he finished off well, has an amazing playoffs as well as an Oiler, there's almost zero chance that they're going to qualify him, because his next qualifying offer is over $3 million.
Right.
So they're not going to do it. Like it just doesn't look like there's a future here unless everything goes right for Puljujärvi from here on out.
Right, but you don't think no one's gonna throw a fifth at them for him, or like?
I think they could. I think they should.
Yeah, it's wild. I guess the whole talk of waiving him came up when they're like, so in the case if no one wants him, but like people were talking about wanting to move like a third or even a second for him at the start of the season, right? So I imagine there's some teams that still see the upside.
I think there's going to be some team out there that should do it.
Yeah.
But so when you've got a team, over the barrel, you don't, sort of game theory suggests that you shouldn't be throwing them a bone.
Yeah.
Like, so
that's only when you're negotiating with Chicago, it seems.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the only team you're allowed to help out is the Chicago Blackhawks. We've learned this over the last few seasons.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. They deserve everything, and we should bend over backwards to make the right season.
They're gonna get Bedard. I can feel it. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. So I think we should head into a much more fun topic. That I saw you tweeting about quite a bit, and I tried to save all my opinions just for this. But Chris Johnston, midway through the game, drops the bombshell that the Oilers are back in talks with the Sharks about a potential Erik Karlsson trade. And I know all the Oilers fans and Sens fans listening to this, we could all be in agreement that this sounds like a lot of fun. Because listen, if the Sens can't have Karlsson, put him on the ice with McDavid. Like, just
I want McDavid, Draisaitl, and Karlsson on the ice all the time together.
That is,
and they did a little preview of that at the All-Star game, like when they were doing the 3-on-3.
Right.
Karlsson was with the Oilers, like he was with Leon and McDavid there. So there's a little bit of elbow rub, like, hey, you should maybe come over here.
We deserve this. As hockey fans, we deserve to be able to see this.
Yes, we deserve this.
I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it gets done, because if
because there's the money is the problem.
There's
right?
so much money, because that's over 5.5 for the next 4.5 seasons, I guess, if you're including, call it half a season left this year. So
he makes $11.5 million a year.
Yeah. So if the Sharks are retaining. They're retaining. If they're retained 50%, that's going to be over 5.5 on the books for nobody for the next 4 seasons. And if you look at
and that's expensive.
But
that's worth something
for sure. Because if you're looking at what Chicago's asking for Jake McCabe, if they also retain, Because I don't know if you I saw, I can't remember who was a tweet out, but it was apparently
I didn't see that.
If McCabe is being retained 50%, they want it to be a first. Plus other, because it's another 2 years of the contract, right? So
on Twitter, I've thrown out like, okay, well, like what makes sense for the Oilers? Like,
right.
If the Oilers were to get Karlsson, that's number one. That's a huge void that they'd be filling on the team. They have offensive right-handed defensemen, but they don't have a 25-minute a night right-handed defenseman.
Right.
That guy in the future might be Evan Bouchard. I love Bouchard. He's amazing, but he's not that guy today.
Mm-hmm.
And Karlsson is, an anchor, first pairing, right shot defender. That is something we do not have. So for me, like, it makes sense if going the other way is another right-handed defenseman, the one who would become, extra, the one who would become not necessary and redundant. That person is going to be Tyson Barrie.
Right.
Right. So you've got, give me 1 second here.
Sure. Yeah. Just to add on to that, I think, you really only need one right-handed defenseman who doesn't really play defense at the end of the day.
That's right. Like it's not going to make any sense. The Oilers team is going to be really out of whack if they keep Barrie that way. So for me, it's Barry would have to go out. Then you'd have guys like, Jesse Puljujärvi that
Mm-hmm.
you have. Just now you're making money work, and he's a prospect. You have to consider him as more of a prospect at this point. Like, he's not doing great, but maybe a change of scenery will be wonderful. He still
Right.
would be like, it's a qualifying offer the Oilers aren't going to make, but San Jose could make no problem. And then you start talking about the firsts, right? If it was no money retained, it would be like 1 first-round pick. Money retained, we're talking at least 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I imagine it's got to be. I don't know how they make this. I imagine San Jose would be like, all right, give us a first round pick for every 25% you want us to hold on to, and then we'll talk
Right.
about it's too. I see the way I see it. If I were in the Sharks' shoes, I'd be like, all right, 2 first to retain 50%. Now let's talk about what you're going to give me for Erik Karlsson.
For the player.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's got to be just a
So
huge
yeah,
amount.
and the Oilers can, if San Jose would be like, okay, well, that is a decent basis for a trade. I think the Oilers can pay that price. I don't think there's anyone on the farm right now that for them is untouchable.
Right.
And they've got a guy in the OHL who's like leading the OHL in scoring, Matvei Petrov. They have Xavier Bourgault, a former first-round pick, who's doing okay in his first season in the AHL, but not amazing. But if the Oilers have to lose those to get a superstar defenseman, yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
This is the window to win.
So
Right.
if you're Ken Holland, which luckily you're not, which we'll see. I don't know. Honestly, Erik Karlsson, as incredible as he is, even I was kind of surprised when I was like, oh wait, Ken Holland wants him, like potentially. So say it's 2. So we'll call it 2 first round picks just for that initial 50%. Say then the
Yeah.
asking is, they probably want to say, well, Erik Karlsson's having a career season, which is absolutely wild. First of all, that we're in 2023 and that's happening. So he's like, all right, so Erik Karlsson is having a career season. Let's get another first. Tyson Barrie, I guess, because you got to get some money out.
Yeah. Tyson Barrie.
Call it Barrie, Puljujärvi, another first.
Yeah.
And then, because I don't know, it depends on how the Sharks looking at it. Do they want the established prospects? Do they want the magic beans? I don't know. Like, it could go.
I don't know either. But if that's sort of the base, and that's where we're going from, and that's kind of acceptable, plus or minus a little more, yeah, I'm the Oilers.
Like,
Do that trade all day long.
Yeah, like call it. I guess, like, I mean, what would it's tricky because you got to find like what San Jose would say yes to, but like what would the Oilers be okay giving up? So if the total price for 50% retained Karlsson is all in, call it like Barrie, Puljujärvi, 3 firsts, and then either a prospect or like another, maybe like a conditional second in there, something, I don't know.
Yeah, but once you start getting into like 3 first-round picks, now it's like, okay, well, maybe the Oilers need something back in exchange. Like, maybe you're giving them second-round picks, and you know what I mean? Like, it's Karlsson and a second for all that.
Right.
And like, you start getting into this, like, okay, well, you're getting a lot also. Like, you're getting a ton for making $11.5 million that no one who can take that much money on, right? Like,
Yeah.
And
And there's no way that the Oilers would be able to protect those picks either. There's no way.
No. Those are unprotected picks.
Yeah.
And for the Oilers, as long as we don't get too ridiculous in what's being given up. The reality is, this is the window.
Yes.
For the win. This is the McDavid Draisaitl window to win. And you've got Darnell Nurse as your top left-hand defender, and you've got who as your top right-hand defender. Nobody standing out.
Right.
So, you get yourself someone like Erik Karlsson, and now we're talking, okay, like you don't even have to have Nurse and Karlsson playing on the same pairing anymore. Like, you can have basically 90% of the game with one of those two on the ice.
Right.
Never
Yeah.
each other. And then a forward group that's doing really well, like really, really well. And Oilers fans have talked about this, and we've seen it. It's come up on broadcasts recently. It used to be that when McDavid and Draisaitl were off the ice, the Oilers were hot, right? And now we're at a point where when McDavid and Draisaitl are off the ice, the team has 9 more goals for than against. And if you go even further, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, the team still has more goals for than against. So, like with
Nuge is also having a really underrated season.
So yeah, Nuge is doing great. So you finally have a team that up front is holding its own while superstars are having their best season.
Yeah.
And you've got goaltending in Skinner, not in Campbell, but in Skinner, that's playing, really, really good hockey, played his way onto the All-Star team by merit. And then you've got a defense, and that's where it's lacking. And that number one right-handed defender could be.
Yeah, just the way that you just laid that out. Yeah, looking at the team as it is, you having this team that already it should be primed for a deep playoff run, and then you can add, career year Erik Karlsson,
superstar, and for multiple years. Like you wouldn't just be adding him for this run. You're saying, hey, I'm getting him for this whole window.
Yeah.
You have to try to make that happen.
Yeah.
I think if you're Ken Holland and this opportunity presents itself, you have to explore it to its full extent.
Yeah. If this season's Erik Karlsson, if this is really what Erik Karlsson is, or rather, I should say, still is, if this long break really, if this is just him fully healed for the first time in a few years, and he's still this good, to have him on your team at under $6 million a year for the next 4 seasons and this playoff run, like mortgage the future and then some.
Yeah.
Like,
because I don't care about the future anymore, right? Like I went through the bad years.
Yeah.
As an fan, I watched the worst hockey imaginable for so long, so that we could get to this place right now. The future doesn't matter. The future is now. So you might well burn all the ships behind you, get that Erik Karlsson, make it happen. That would make this Oiler team, I would assume odds-on favorites.
I think it would have to, frankly.
Yeah. And then you just have the goaltending holds up.
Because I don't want to say that, necessarily playoff-wise that Erik Karlsson will play exactly like he did in 2017, but say he does. Say he does play that way. Then the Oilers have 2 players who have shown that they can single-handedly drag their team through a playoff series and win.
Yeah.
And
from
2 of those guys, nuts.
Yeah. You got him on the back end and up front. That's going to be crazy.
Absolutely insane. I honestly, I hope it happens.
So make it happen. Make it happen, Ken Holland.
I want to see it. The hockey fans want to see it. True.
Yeah. That is the trade deadline that everyone wants to see.
That'd be incredible.
Fan or your Oiler management, I honestly think that a player like Karlsson is the missing piece. So
what about Chychrun as a consolation prize? Say you take out the 2 first-round picks that are in there for the retention. Would you make the similar move for Chychrun?
I would want. Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you can't have Karlsson, a guy like Chychrun would help. But I mean, he's also a left-handed defender.
Right.
So now he's not playing with Nurse. He's playing. He's playing behind Nurse, which is also probably good for Chychrun as well. And then that sort of pushes the Oilers' left side defense down and over. Like you'll have a guy like Broberg who might play on the right-hand side, or the Oilers might go with 7 defensemen a night as opposed to 6 defensemen a night.
Right.
The Woodcroft has done 11 and 7 on many occasions.
Yeah,
And
tonight included, I believe.
In there, I really like it too. I love going 11-7. If you have a guy like Chikrin in there, that's still strengthening the defense, and the defense is probably the weakest part of the Oilers game right now.
But it's not as fun.
But it's not as fun. It's not as fun as Carlson,
right?
And it's not as perfect of a fit as what Carlson.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're gonna call it there, and just gives us something to dream about, because even just listen, the Sens season's done. I want to see Carlson and McDavid together.
That's right. Come and watch. That's right. Ottawa fans, come and watch Carlson as an Oiler, and enjoy Connor McDavid with us as we cheer on McDavid and Carlson through the playoffs.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. That was a great conversation. I had a blast.
Yeah, me too.
And for all of you watching at home, make sure to stay tuned for the rest of the day, because today is Saturday, and the NHL was smart and did staggered scheduling throughout the day, so you're gonna have plenty other Game Over episodes to watch throughout the rest of the day. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and we will see you next time.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.